Cubs lose 2 out of 3 with one of the more embarrassing performances of the year.
Yeah, Northside noise, Shot City then, Joey and Sam, lock it in, we blow all the spin, cup talk, yeah, tap in, and with a heartbeat, couple quick.
Welcome to episode 7 of the Shy City Den. I am Joey Glickman. We're breaking down the biggest stories, biggest games, and all things Chicago sports. If it's happening in Chicago, we're talking about it. Sam is currently at graduation. I'm going to do this show solo. Thought it was necessary. Sam will be back for the next episode on Thursday. But this was one of the more embarrassing, lackluster, awful, awful series of the year, maybe in the past couple years. Let's talk about Saturday first, and then we can get to what transpired today. Jameson Taillon gave up 5 home runs to the White Sox on Saturday. He was serving up absolute meatballs. Murakami hit 2. Colson Montgomery hit a ball that I think landed in Michael Jackson's childhood home's yard in Gary, Indiana. He looked awful on Saturday. Absolutely awful. And, you're going to have one of these Jameson Taillon starts, probably one every 5 starts. You're going to get these clunkers from Jameson Taillon. That's just who he is. But boy, did he look awful on Saturday. Serving up absolute meatballs. And the game was over by 7 p.m. His final line on Saturday, 5 innings, 8 runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. His ERA shoots up to 4.97. Not good. Not good from him. And this is a guy that you want and need to step up for this team when you got Steele out for a couple more months. Cade Horton's out, obviously, for the entire year. Matthew Boyd tore his meniscus sitting with his children. He'll be out for another month. It's a guy that you need to step up for this club, and since Matthew Boyd has gone down, he really hasn't been great. And giving up 5 home runs to a team which, they do hit a lot of home runs. I'll give them that. But they don't, other than Murakami and Montgomery, they don't have any big threats offensively. Other than Murakami hitting probably 30 plus home runs, they don't have a guy that's going to hit 20 plus home runs. It's not a threatening lineup. It's just not. Okay? And, Matthew Boyd will come back in a month and hopefully pitch how he pitched last year. But you don't know what you're going to get from him when he comes back. You don't know what you're going to get from Justin Steele when he comes back from a year and a half injury. A lot of question marks from this rotation. And I don't know where you go from here. I guess you got to patch it up in July, I guess. And Cabrera hasn't been great. The only pitcher in the rotation that's been phenomenal is Shota Imanaga. Edward Cabrera is a whole nother story that I think I want to attack with Sam when he gets back on Thursday. It's just not good enough from the rotation the past couple weeks. Just not good enough. A lot of walks, a lot of hard hits, a lot of home runs in parks that aren't hitter friendly. Really, like Globe Life Field is not hitter friendly. Uh, Rate Field, Comiskey Park, whatever the hell you call it now, isn't hitter friendly. You got three big games coming up that I'm going to talk about later on this week that this team's got to come ready to play, and this rotation's got to come ready to play. Let's talk about today in this bullpen. Colin Ray, let's talk with the starter real quick. Colin Ray, he was fine. He settled in, but he gave up some hard hits and kind of got away from him early on. His final line was 4 2/3, 4 runs, 4 strikeouts. He hasn't been great either the past month. He just hasn't. He hasn't. And let me talk about Phil Maton. Okay? Phil Maton comes in the game in the bottom of the 8th, looks like he wants to go home. He looks scared. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. Why can't we get relievers that actually throw with conviction? He can't throw the ball over 90 miles an hour. I don't know of a reliever other than him. I mean, Kyle Hendricks throws harder. It looks like anyone that is listening to this podcast can get a base hit off of. Okay, he gave up a homer to a guy who was on the Savannah Bananas not too long ago. That's a true story, folks. It's true. And you committed $20.5 million to a guy who has a 9.5 ERA and a guy by the name of Hunter Harvey. Not sure anyone who's listening has heard of him because he's pitched 3 innings this campaign. It's been a problem. It's been a real problem. What do you do? What do you do with Phil Maton? I'm not quite sure. Do you eat that money and let him go? I think it's up for consideration, guys. I think it's up for consideration. And then you put Ryan Rollison, who hasn't looked great in the past month. These guys aren't big league reliever. They're just not. They're not big league relievers. They should be pitching in Korea. All right? They just should. They should. And where do you go from here with the bullpen? Do you go out and trade for a reliever this early at a steep price? I get a Chapman or Luke Weaver or a Devin Williams or someone along those lines to patch this bullpen. I don't know. It might be a little too early for that. They might have to really figure it out. But like Ryan Rollison should not be out there in the 10th inning. He's not good. He's just not. I mean, you should have. If you were to watch that home run back on replay, it was right down the middle. I mean, to another guy who has not hit a home run this year. And it's just frustrating that this team's 11 games over 500 and puts out relievers that shouldn't be on a big league roster. Do you call up a guy like Jordan Wicks who just came off the IL in Iowa and give him a shot? Maybe. Um, that's certainly a possibility. But if this team wants World Series aspirations, they should not be running Phil Maton out. It's unacceptable. I don't blame that on Craig Counsell. He's got no other options. I blame that on Jed Hoyer. You committed 2 years to him, and you targeted him very early in the offseason. He was the first Cubs signing, if not one of the first signings in all of Major League Baseball. They targeted him early. They really liked what he saw. And, Jacob Webb is showing some signs. Hobie Milner's looked phenomenal this year. He's got a 2.08 ERA. Palencia looked fine today. He looked fine on what was that, Friday? But if this team wants to make a run, they're gonna have to make 2 to 3 bullpen acquisitions, and not just like some low leverage guys. They need to get some guys who are humming it in the bullpen. Devin Williams comes to mind. I know he's struggled this year, but I think Craig can figure him out. But again, I think it's too early to go out and get a guy like him, just because the Mets who made a crazy comeback today, they're not done yet. So they're not pulling the white flag anytime soon. But props to the White Sox. Props to the White Sox, who really has 2 studs in their lineup in Murakami and Colson Montgomery. He's got both of them really have a presence at the plate that feel like they're going to do some damage every time they're up there. That's a select number of guys in the league, and to have 2 of those guys in your lineup is great to see for them. I don't really root against the White Sox. For some reason, White Sox fans root against us. I don't know if it's because their little brother or what, but they seem to just root against us for some reason. I have nothing against the White Sox. White Sox fans, that's a whole different story. But yeah, I mean, they got some up and coming stars. They're not going to make the playoffs this year, but they have some great talent. In their organization, and not only that, they got the first overall pick. They're going to take that kid from UCLA, Rosh Chalowski, who's supposed to be phenomenal. But going back on the Cubs, have to figure it out. Have to figure it out soon, because the team up north is creeping up on you. They're creeping up on you. They're game and a half up, game and a half back. Game and a half back of you guys. And we got a big series coming up this week. 3 games set. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's preview the first matchups. Sproat will pitch for the Brewers. Shota Imanaga for the Cubs on Monday. Jacob Mizorowski, who's been phenomenal this year so far for the Brewers, on Tuesday against Ben Brown, who obviously looked phenomenal on Friday in our win this weekend. And then Wednesday, Kyle Harrison, who they got in the trade this winter for who was it for? I'm trying to think. It wasn't. Hang on, I'm gonna find that out. San Francisco. What was the big trade? I'll tell you right now. The big trade. It was the Devers trade, and then I think it was the Durbin trade this year. I think they got him for Caleb Durbin. He's pitching Wednesday against Edward Cabrera who he needs a big start to lower that walk rate because his past 3 starts have been a joke. It's been a joke. Um, but they can kind of flip the past couple weeks by taking 2 out of 3 against this club. You want to make a statement for this division? You go win this series. They have a big pitching advantage on Monday night. They should be able to win that ball game. You know, Tuesday night, Ben Brown's been phenomenal, but it's still advantage Brewers with Mizorowski on the bump. And Wednesday's really a toss-up with Kyle Harrison and Edward Cabrera gone. It should be a good series. And look, guys, the Brewers don't have Willie Mays on their team. They don't have Barry Bonds on their team. They don't have Stan Musial on their team. But they're not going away, folks. You can say all you want that they don't have stars, but they're going to be there in the end. I can assure you that. The Reds were on my radar to threaten the Cubs in March. Now it's really the Brewers, and that's it. St. Louis isn't threatening. You know, they're off to a really good start at 27-19. They're going to fall off, guys. You don't need to worry about St. Louis. Okay? Pittsburgh, it looked okay this year so far. They're not really threatening, though, and the Reds have been kind of underwhelming the past month or so. Really just the month of May in general. So, you're looking at the bigger picture. It's really the same 2 teams. And that's the Cubs and the Brewers. The Brewers won 2 out of 3 this weekend against Minnesota. They're ready to go this week. And look, this weekend was a big series against the Sox. But this series against the Brewers is a lot bigger. A lot bigger. Like, it's massive. It's massive. And I'm going to be going probably to at least one of the games this week. It should be a great atmosphere at the Friendly Confines, back at home for the first time in what seems like forever, 2 weeks. But this team needs to make a statement, and it starts tomorrow against the Brewers. I wanted just to come on here. It's going to be a shorter episode. We're approaching, the 20-minute mark. I think I'm going to log off about now. But we're going to talk about Bears' schedule release when Sam comes back. I feel like that needed to just be the 2 of us. But guys, the bigger picture is you got a big series this week against Brewers. And you can erase what happened today and yesterday by taking 2 out of 3. And if you want to get greedy, maybe bring out the brooms on Wednesday. That would really light the fire under the Cubs faithful and really get this season officially underway with division play and the Brewers. So excited for this week. Excited for the opportunity to really put a dent in the division right now. And let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go find a way to win 2 out of 3 after an embarrassing weekend against the White Sox. Thank you so much for listening to episode 7 of the Shy City Den. Again, we're going to be back with Sam on Thursday. Again, thanks for tuning in. First rant of the podcast history was tonight, and it felt good. It felt like it needed to happen. So, thanks, guys, logging off. And as always, go Cubbies.